Our floors are laid according to the floating system. In order to achieve a pleasant aesthetic outcome, you should first of all check the planarity conditions and the correct humidity ratio of the subgrade. You should not use defective or not in line materials. Temperature and humidity ratio. Put the sealed pocket at a temperature ranging from 18 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius and at an air humidity ratio ranging from 55 to 60% for 48 hours before laying. Do not leave the packets in open areas without windows, yards where cement and plaster are drying. Subgrade and insulated blank subgrade. In order to achieve faultless laying, make sure that subgrade is dry, solid. The humidity ratio of the cement layer must be below 1.7%. Properly leveled as to the following tolerance value on the insulated blank subgrade: 3 mm out of a length of 1000 mm, 4 mm out of a length of 2000 mm, 5 mm out of a length of 4000 mm. Where necessary, level the difference in height with suitable products, checking the humidity ratio before laying. Underlay mat. In order to level slight differences in height of the underlying floor, it is advisable to use a 2 mm thick expanded polyethylene sheet, which also helps reducing sound. Polyethylene sheet. Use ring-laid polyethylene sheets or an HD polyethylene sheet strictly 2 mm thick. Visible defects. The planks that present obvious defects must not be installed. Visible defects are those present on the surface of the floor. The planks with visible defects must be checked by the installer and reported before installation to allow testing and replacement prior to the installation of the material. Laying instructions. The floor you have bought must be brought in the rooms where it will be laid, taking care while transporting it to avoid hitting the sides in order not to damage the joints. Any break would not ensure a perfect joint. The packages must be opened and left horizontal and still for at least 2 or 3 days, so that the slats are conditioned in the room's humidity and are more stable once the floor will be laid. Carefully read the suggestions on laying and maintaining the floor, including in the instruction sheet enclosed in the packages. The equipment needed for a correct laying is a cutting machine with a perfectly sharp blade or a handsaw, a hammer, a tape measure, a pencil, an L beater, a horizontal beater, some wedges or distance spacers, some PVC adhesive tape, a cutter, and a bevel. First of all, lay the underfloor with the nylon side turned downwards. Lay alongside the following underfloor strip, overlapping it to the nylon. Secure the joint by means of the PVC tape. Position the first row of slats with the female joint turned towards the wall, keeping it to the wall with the spacing wedges. Continue by fitting the slats for the whole row until possible, positioning the whole slats while taking care not to leave any interspace. Cut the last element of the row, providing for an expansion allowance of 1 centimeter. Position the last element cut to size, thus completing the row. If needed, make use of an L beater. Start the following row with the piece of slat left over from the previous final cut, remembering that it must not be shorter than 40 centimeters. Normally, all the joints between any 2 rows must be staggered by at least 40 centimeters one from the other, in order to ensure a perfect fit of the joints in time. In order to be able to fit any 2 slats together, first of all, insert the joint on the short side, then lift the slat on the flank by about 30 degrees, while fitting the long side as well for its whole length. If needed, make use of a horizontal beater. To make the whole operation easier, Lay the floor so that on the long side, the female joint leans on the male joint, while on the short side, use the opposite approach and fit the male joint under the female joint. Continue this way for the whole surface of the room, always allowing for 1 centimetre of distance from the wall to ensure that later on the elements have enough room for their natural expansion. It is recommended to avoid laying lengths higher than 6 to 7 metres running, because the expansion allowance from the wall, 1 centimetre, could prove to be not enough. For lengths higher than those above mentioned, it is necessary to insert an expansion joint to avoid the floors rising. At the end of the room, to complete the laying, it will be necessary to cut the last row lengthwise. Measure the missing piece, allowing the 1 centimetre distance to be left free as an expansion allowance. It is recommended to cut 1 slat at a time in order to avoid pointless wasting. Continue laying the last row of slats, making use of the L-beater or the bevel. Check the floor's laying on the whole surface of the room and verify that all along the perimeter of the room, the 1 centimetre expansion allowance has been provided for. Finally, take out all the spacing wedges. Lay the baseboard. Insert the expansion joints and the end joints. Final inspection. The inspection must involve the end user, customer, and the layer, and must be performed while these people are standing and are in daylight. An angled light source, an artificial light, or backlight shall not be used to evaluate and locate surface defects. Maintenance. Climate. BIPANfloor floors are made of wood-based materials, so they react to any climate change. If the climate inside the room is kept constant and normal, contrary reactions will be reduced to the minimum. Cleaning. Only use a broom, a vacuum cleaner, a dry cloth, or a damp cloth, adding a mild detergent to water if necessary. Do not use abrasive agents, strong detergents, or sponge metal. Dry the whole floor completely after cleaning. Care. We strongly advise you to use protective felt pads underneath the legs of tables, chairs, and other pieces of furniture. Other areas subject to strong wear due to metal wheels, heavy furniture, or other should be adequately protected. Moreover, in all entrance areas, we advise you to use rugs or other adequate textile covering that absorb dirt and dust. BIPANfloor floor can be laid in all indoor spaces, with the exception of damp rooms.